Hey beauties, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jamila. I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup and skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. I don't know why I'm using this like a wand, but we gonna rock with it. So I'm getting ready, and I thought I'd just do a chat to get ready with me. This ain't planned. This is not planned whatsoever. I have no script. I don't even know. Well, I kind of know what I want to talk about, but honestly, we're just going to go with the flow and we'll see what comes out of my mouth. And if this makes it up. So I'm going to try to keep this real simple today, guys. So I'm going in with the Berlin palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I actually found this at a TJ Maxx. And I was like, ooh, $16. Let's go. So gonna try this out. The formula on this definitely feels a little bit different from the Nomad palettes that I know, but yeah, so we'll see how this works. Okay, so I feel like I'm censored, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, and I don't think I said this, but I think I'm gonna call this series Real Thoughts and Real Talk, because that's really what it is. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's like random thoughts and real talk, but that's kind of what it is. It's just, things that come to my mind, things that I ruminate on that, sometimes you don't really have anybody to talk to about it out loud. So I'm here talking to myself. And I know I'm talking to you guys, but it really is me talking to myself, which kind of helps a lot. But this should be a premiere, so we should be talking in the live chat as well. Okay, so because this is a chat to get ready with me, I'm just going to make sure to put everything that I'm using down in the description box because we're not here to really talk about the makeup. So for today's topic, for today's video, this is actually something that came to mind for me yesterday, and I've been trying to figure out how to talk about it. What do I really want to say, how to dive into it, because I'm still kind of dealing with the realization of the topic itself. And I was actually watching Kara from Beauty and the Frizz's video yesterday where she did a chatty get ready with me kind of life update, and it resonated so well because it was exactly what I was thinking about. And I promise you guys, we're not planning this together or anything like that. I think it's just we're both at this point in our lives where we know that we have to make a shift. Like, there's just so much going on for us each individually that we are reassessing where we are, reassessing what makes us happy, reassessing what makes us healthy, and thinking about the changes that we need to make to our lifestyle to get to sort of that peak happiness, peak healthiness, all that fun jazz. So, we are friends outside of YouTube, so we talk a lot about where we are and how things are going. We share suggestions, and it's been good. It's been good having like a friend kind of go through something similar to what I'm going through. And I say something similar because, there are huge differences between Kara and myself. For example, I am not a mom. So Kara is doing all of this while having to keep other humans alive. And I don't have that. Which does give me a little bit of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it does make it, I would say, easier for me. Like, it's not easy being a parent at all whatsoever, and I have so much respect and admiration for parents because I know it takes a lot of work. Like, you have to keep a whole other person alive, plus take care of yourself, and a lot of times parents constantly, especially mothers, especially women, constantly deprioritize themselves for the sake of their kids. So I really commend Kara, man, because she's doing that. And I am like, girl, you only gotta keep yourself alive. I need you to figure this out because this ain't it. This is not the life that you want to live. You have no excuse. So, but it's baby steps. And I said this in her video when she posted it, that when you have spent years building bad habits and getting to the place where you are now, you can't expect to suddenly get out of it and be in this space where you're doing all of the things right and you have all of these good habits set in place. No, if it took years for you to get there, it's going to take a little while for you to get out of it. Maybe not years, but it's going to take a couple months at the bare minimum. It takes, 12 weeks at a minimum to form a new habit. So give yourself grace. Build on habits. So habit stacking is something that I actually want to take up sometime soon, And the idea of habit stacking is that you start with one thing, you integrate it into your life, and you get really, really good at it, or not really good at it, I should say, it becomes just part of life, part of everyday life. It becomes a habit, i.e., exact. It becomes a habit. That's what it does. And then you build on that. You add another thing, and that becomes a habit. And then before you know it, you have a routine. You have a full-fledged routine that is not necessarily something you have to think about. Because the thing is, before something becomes a habit, you have to consciously think about it to get it done. You have to consciously tell yourself, okay, I need to do this thing. And then, one day you realize that you're not thinking about it. It's kind of on autopilot, but it takes a while to get there. And sometimes we don't even realize the things that we have in our life that are good habits, because a habit is at a point, subconscious. You're not really paying attention to it. So one, I think it's important for all of us to pause and reflect on the things that we are already doing and give ourselves a little pat on the back for the good habits that we've already implemented, Because we don't really pay it. Oops, I think I'm getting this in frame. We don't pay attention to the good habits that we already have in our life. We're always thinking about, oh, well, I could be doing this better. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's always something all of us could be doing better, but if there are good habits that you already have in place, we should be acknowledging it, And I'm gonna give you all a simple one. Every morning, I make my bed. It's a non-negotiable for me. It was not something that I used to do as a child. It was not something that I did very well in college. But as an adult, I decided that one of the habits that I wanted to have in my life was a made bed. I want to have the comfort of coming home to a bed that's freshly made, not covered in clothes, all that fun jazz. So for me, I spent years building the habit of making sure that my bed is made every morning. Non-negotiable. I mean, I have to be running hella late to whatever it is I'm going to for me to not make my bed. And I mean hella late as in I'm gonna miss this flight. So I it's become such a part of my everyday routine that I don't even notice it anymore, and I don't even really pay attention to it because it's become, okay, you wake up, you make your bed, and then you go about your day. So it's something small, but it is something that I'm recognizing, that's a great habit. Starting off with a freshly made bed every day sets the tone for the entire day. One, it kind of forces me to get out of bed anyway. So, I've never been the type to just stay in bed and lounge around all day, but I don't do it. I never really did it, but I'm definitely not doing it because I got to make up and I got to make my bed because I like the way it looks. I like the way that I get to set everything up nice and fresh, put my cute little pillows on there so it looks good. I love that feeling. So take some time, celebrate the habits that you've already integrated into your life, and give yourself grace in forming new habits because they do take time. Now, that was not exactly what I wanted to talk about, but we're gonna rock with it. What I wanted to talk about was something that came to me in a conversation that I was having with somebody about this sort of turn of phrase. You guys know the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, I was having a conversation about this yesterday, and I was thinking about the phrase, and I was thinking about the context in which it's used. I feel like oftentimes we say you can't pour from an empty cup when people have given everything, when they are literally drained and their cup is empty, and they have nothing else to give, and it's a way to tell people, okay, you need to pour into yourself before you can help others. Because it also ties into another saying, right? Put your own oxygen mask on before you help others. You can't save other people if you yourself are drowning, right? And I think it feels like a no-brainer concept. It feels like something all of us should know and all of us should understand, but that's not really how it works, right? I think for many of us, and I'm speaking specifically because this to my American folks, because I do think that this is a uniquely American experience. I think that there is, And not to say other people don't have stress and other people aren't drained, but I feel like America has a very specific hustle culture where like you gotta be working, you gotta be doing something. You're always giving. Like you give until you have nothing left. And like I said, your cup is empty. So like I said, to me, I feel like it always comes in context of telling people like you can't give what you don't have. And you need to pour into yourself first. But when I really started thinking about it, how many of us are operating with a full cup? And I was like, I know I'm not. Because, you know, we tell people you can't pour from an empty cup, but we never say, you deserve to have a full cup. You know, you deserve to be full at all times. Because in actuality, what I think happens in reality is most of us are operating with a cup that's like 50% full. And we're like, okay, well, my cup isn't empty, so I can still give. And you know, we continue to give, and then sometimes we'll be like, okay, I'm getting down to like the 10%, 5%, so now I need to pour into myself. But we only pour into ourselves enough to get to the point where we're not drowning, to get to the point where we're at that 50% mark or slightly above it, and we're like, we're doing fine. Like, what would it feel like to actually have a full cup? And to constantly have a full cup. And by that I mean that you are still able to give to others and you're still able to pour into others, but at the same time you have a steady stream coming back in so that you aren't draining yourself and you're not draining your 100% giving to other people. And I sat there, and I don't know guys, but it was just like this weird light bulb that went off in my head. And I was like, what is my full cup? What does a full cup for me look like? And truthfully, I don't know, because I never really thought about it. And I feel like I've never really thought about it because of the fact that I spent the last 10 plus years moving to America, figuring shit out, figuring out this whole new culture, figuring out where fit, you know, creating this life where I am comfortable and I'm not like struggling. And it's always been a priority to think about school, career, or something like that. And so many other things get deprioritized. Like I think about the concept of peace and the fact that I never feel true peace until I go home. Until I step off that plane into my beautiful twin islands of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't feel peace. And I think part of it is the fact that that's home. There's always some sense of peace attached to being home, you know. Plus, my parents are there, and I have the best parents. Like, I couldn't ask for better parents, y'all. Like, they are, and I don't want to cry because I love them so much. But I have the best parents. So when I go home, it's like a sense of safety, a sense of security having my parents there. And, you know, it's home. Everybody is operating on the same wavelength because we're all from the same culture. There's just like a understanding of I can be who I truly am and not have to explain who I truly am, because everybody gets it. Everybody else is Trini. We all understand what I'm saying, how I'm saying. My accent doesn't sound weird. None of that. I can be me unapologetically and without explanation because people just get it. So there, you know, there's a sense of peace that comes with that. But then there's also the sense of peace that comes with just the culture that's not freaking America. Like, if you live in the US, I think you guys know this. There is this hustle culture where I feel like the expectation is that you're working. Like, you are constantly working. Like, you constantly have to be giving 110%, you know. And nobody will say it outright that you need to rest, or, you know. Nobody will say it outright that you need to be working 24/7, but it kind of becomes the expectation because nobody's setting the example that rest is important. You go to work, people are working through their lunch break at their desk 24/7. You know, people have 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs trying to make ends meet. Like, it's always a bit of a rat race to get to the next thing. And if you are somebody that even remotely tries to prioritize work-life balance or remotely tries to prioritize yourself so that you're not working more than your scheduled hours, You get overlooked for promotions. You get overlooked for jobs. Like, so again, it's this culture of hustle, hustle, hustle. Always, you know, always be busy. Always be busy. And if you're not busy, you're lazy. Okay, let me finish up these eyes because I'm pretty much done with this. I'm going to add some eyeliner and then I'm going to come back and start on the rest of the face. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my Security Sweat Primer from One Size. I think I decided I don't like this. The thing is that it is not mattifying. And I feel like it's marketed for people that are oily, that are sweaty. Not sweaty, but you know, oily girls who might sweat a lot because it's humid or whatever the case is. And it's supposed to, like, I assume mattify. Does it even say mattify on this? Well, it says dry till dawn. But I get it. There's probably a difference between oiliness and sweat. But I feel like they're related, right? And I guess I just expected more. I thought I was going to be matte. And I don't think it does a good job at keeping me matte very long. So if you want a better mattifying primer, I say go with the Milk mattifying primer. It's that one in the black packaging. I don't remember what it's called, but that one's way better. Now I'm going to go in with the Givenchy foundation. As you guys can see, almost done. This is kind of similar to the primer in that I think that this does not do the best job at mattifying. It doesn't last as long as some other foundations in my collection. So this isn't necessarily one that I would see myself repurchasing because I think that there are just better mattifying foundations out there. And this primer is pilling on my skin, so that sucks. Anyways, so to continue with today's conversation, like I was saying, I do believe that most of us are operating at a point where our cups are about 50% full, if so much. And I think that that's not okay, and I think most of us don't recognize that because I don't think we spend a lot of time quantifying where we're at. You know, how many of us sit there and are like, okay, where's my cup today? Am I feeling like 50-ish, 75-ish? And what does 100% look like? I don't think many of us are asking ourselves that. I think many of us are at a point where we are just like, can I get through today? Do I have enough in me to do the tasks that I need to do without, like, actually burning out and completely falling apart? Can I be functional with what my cup has in it today? And you know, I was just thinking about it as I was doing my eyeliner, about when do I feel like was the last time that my cup was at 100%. And I specifically think it was in 2019. I think 2019 was the year when my cup was the fullest and probably at 100%, because that was the year that I feel like I was doing everything that I wanted for me. It was all about self-preservation. It was all about self-happiness. And I think a lot of that self-happiness trickled into everybody else. It wasn't about being selfish. And I want to point out that making yourself happy or prioritizing yourself does not make you selfish. Like, it's not selfish to want happiness. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to prioritize yourself over others. Period. That's a hard thing to stomach. It's even hard for me, and I have to keep reiterating that to myself a lot of the times, because there's this notion if you're prioritizing yourself and taking care of yourself and doing things simply for you, for nobody else, it makes you selfish. And that's not true at all. So, you know, keep telling yourself, guys, that it's not selfish to prioritize yourself. But yes, so 2019, I think, was the year that I prioritized myself. I prioritized the things that made me happy. And in turn, I think my cup was the fullest. You know, that was the year that I played mass with my entire family, I believe, if I'm remembering the years right. My entire, like, all of my cousins, all my sister cousins and my sisters, we played mass together. And that was amazing. If you know anything, Carnival, you can't feel bad at Carnival. And being on the road in a costume on Monday and Tuesday, that is like peak happiness. Just, I think for most people, it's like peak happiness, being on the road in a costume Monday and Tuesday. So I remember playing mass. And then I also remember going to LA for the first time. And this was something that I just decided by myself. I didn't go with anybody else, but my cousin, who's an actress out there, she lives out there. And you know, my family, we are very much a loving, close-knit family. So like, if ever I wanted to go visit, it's like, sure, girl, come. We got extra bedroom, you know. And even if not, like, I grew up in the Caribbean, y'all. We ain't afraid to sleep on the couch. We ain't afraid to sleep on the floor. Any of that, you know. And you know, I got a chance to just go out to LA and have fun with my cousin. We did hiking. I felt like I was also the most fit and healthy at that point in time. I think that was closest to my ideal weight because I had been waking up pretty consistently. So I was pretty fit and healthy. I loved hiking even back then. So we did hiking a couple of days, going to the Hollywood sign. I remember we went to Catalina Island as well, which just fed my soul because you guys know, if it has water, I want to be there. And Catalina Island felt so much like being on a little Caribbean island. You know, it was kind of away from the city. It was a beautiful ferry ride getting there. Loved that. So, you know, we had the ferry ride. We got all the way there. And we were able to do some kayaking, which was so amazing. And again, thank God I was like fit and healthy there because it's a workout on the arms, you guys. So we did some kayaking there. And we had some food, it's some amazing seafood, and we just got to like walk around and hang around. There are no cars allowed on the island, so it felt like a slower pace. It felt like a, you know, break from reality, because it didn't feel like America, to be honest. So it felt like just a great opportunity to relax. And then we even did, I believe, two beaches in LA. So, you know, doing all of that fed my soul. I got to hang out with my cousin. We did like wine hopping, like we went to a bunch of different wineries. So it was a lot of fun. And then after that trip, I went to London that same year to see my best friend. And this was my first time going to London. It was my first time across the pond, and I had the best time. Again, I found a cheap ticket to London, and I was like, girl, can I come? And she was like, yeah. And I just went to London. We had a lot of fun. We hung out, and then there was a day that, you know, and I try not to interrupt people's life when I go visit them because, again, I found a cheap ticket, and I was like, I just want to go to London. Is it cool? And she's like, sure. She's like, I still have to work. And I was like, that's okay, girl. You got a bed, you got a couch. I am A-okay. So, you know, I believe like 1 or 2 days, I just hung out by myself. I wandered around London by myself. And I have never been afraid of traveling or doing things by myself. I'm pretty self-sufficient. I don't need other people to have fun. Do I like having other people around? Yeah, absolutely. It can make things a lot better, but it can also be a bit of a hindrance when you have to take other people's interests into account. So sometimes it is good to go by yourself because you don't have to ask anybody what they want to do but you. And you do what you want to do. So I went to see the Crown Jewels by myself because she'd seen it multiple times. And she was like, been there, done that. You know, she's also from Trinidad, so she's been to see the Crown Jewels with other people that's come to visit her. And she's like, I've seen it enough. You go and you have fun. And I was like, okay, cool. So saw the Crown Jewels, saw the museum. We went by her school where she went to university, which was amazing. And what else did we went out drinking, and it was the best time because it was, one, being with my friend who I've known for so long at this point, and it was great, you know, just seeing us in like a different space because we went to primary school together in Trinidad. She went to London for university. I went to the US for university. At this point, we'd all both finished our degrees and we were working. So it's like we're adults now, right? We got access to adult money and we can do adult things. I mean, we were still very much in the early phases of our careers, but it was nice to see how far we both had come. So I had the best time in London. I think I was only there for a week. I definitely want to go back and spend more time because there's so much to do. The food sucked though. I'm pretty sure I lost weight in London because I was like, so y'all don't season nothing, huh? And it was expensive. Like the food was expensive. They had no seasoning, none whatsoever. I was like, so, okay, y'all ain't never heard of green seasoning. maybe some salt. Jesus. But, and the portion sizes were super small. And you know what? Everybody smoked. That was kind of sucky because you had to walk through a cloud of smoke every time you went into a new building. And I was just like, okay, this is different. But I had the best time. We rode bikes everywhere. I'm pretty sure I almost got hit by a bus. 95% sure a bus almost hit me. But it was still fun. Yeah, and I think that was also part of why I lost weight, is because, you know, you can take the buses or the tube, as they call it, but you can also get around by bike. And they had those city bikes, which I feel like I felt a lot more comfortable riding in, you know, UK than in America. So yeah, we did the city bikes all the time because she had her own bike. So we did the city bike. We rode around so much. It was amazing. I had the best time. And again, all of these things were within the same year. So playing Mass, going to California just to hang out with my cousin, but again, by myself. I didn't have to think about anybody else. I didn't have to plan around anybody else's schedule other than, you know, my cousin who I was staying with. And then going to London and hanging out with my best friend there. And I think back to that as being the time that my cup was truly full, because I feel like that was the point in time when I actually let myself relax. You know, that was the first time I'd been on vacation in a very, very long time, because it was the first time I felt comfortable post graduation. Because in terms of like my college trajectory, I did a 5-year program at my university. So I graduated with my bachelor's in 4 years, and I did one additional year, and I had my master's after that. So I had been working constantly. And when you do that, it's basically an accelerated program. So I was fast-tracked through a master's program, which should have taken 2 years, but getting it done in 1 because I started the master's program in my undergrad. So I was always busy. I was also an RA in college, and I had other jobs and internship requirements for my programs. So I had an undergraduate internship requirement and a graduate internship requirement. So I was working 24/7. Like, I don't know how I survived. I barely did. But, you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. So when I was done with college and I got my first job, you know, like for me, the thing was about proving yourself and getting established in your job, because that sets you up, that sets up your career, right? So for the first year, I don't think I took any vacation. I didn't take any time off. I was like working constantly. I wanted to make sure that I felt settled. I wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable in my position. I wanted to make sure that I felt like I could breathe. And I think 2019 for me was the first year that I felt like I could breathe. I felt that I had some sense of security in my career. I was making enough money to be comfortable because I was only taking care of myself. Like, I wasn't rich by any means, or I wasn't like paper. I'm still not. So, but it was like, okay, I can breathe. I can live on my own. I can pay my bills. I don't have to worry and be stressed out like you are when you were in college. So I took that opportunity to breathe, and I feel like I just exhaled, and I was like, I'm gonna do the things that feed my joy and feed my spirit and bring me joy. And one of that is traveling. You know, like I've said this multiple times that when it comes down to it, traveling is my first love. And that's mainly because I love new experiences. And for me, traveling doesn't have to be getting on a plane and going all the way to London, or getting on a plane and going to an entirely new country. Like, the US itself is such a large, multi-dimensional, multifaceted place that I could go to a different state and feel like I'm in a different country and learn something new and understand, you know, there's a difference by culture. Like, going to New York City and walking around New York City is very different than going to New Orleans, you know? Like, you can see the difference in a lot of ways. You can also hear the difference because some of these people have different accents based on the region of America that they're from. So traveling has always been a priority for me because I want to see the world. I want to experience the world. And I want to do it while I actually physically can. Because I don't want to wait until I am old and gray and I finally have the money to do whatever I want to do to start traveling and seeing the world and doing all these things. So in 2019, I really felt like I exhaled and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the time. You are in a good space. You are comfortable. let's go do what feeds your spirit. So I traveled a lot. I worked out. Again, I was the fittest I had ever been. I was super healthy. I was working out constantly. I was doing hikes. I was even like hanging out with my friends more consistently because, you know, I fully recognize that sometimes I can be really bad in terms of being a friend, and it might take me a couple of days to a week to respond to a text message, you know? And back then, I felt like I was much more engaged as a friend, much more active. And, you know, after 2019, there were just a lot of things that happened, and I feel like I disengaged in a lot of ways, and I started pouring into other people and not myself. And now I'm at this point where my cup is, I would give it a 50%. Like, I'm not drowning by any means, but I'm not thriving. And maybe that's what having a cup that's 100% is. It's thriving, you know? It's not drowning. It's actually thriving, being happy, living to your fullest potential. And I have to figure out what that means for me now. Because even though, like, I talk about 2019 and I romanticize it and I think about it fondly, I know that I can't go back to that version of me because I've changed. You know, I've experienced so much in the last, 4 years now at this point, that there's no going back. And I don't really believe in going back anyway. So for me, what I'm trying to do is figure out what fills my cup now. What could fill my cup now? Because, you know, 2019 was even before I had a YouTube channel. I think I had thought about it, but I hadn't even really committed to it, and it had been like a passing thought because I started my channel in December of 2020, because 2020 is when I really thought, maybe I could give this a real shot. Maybe I can really give this a chance. So, you know, there's my YouTube channel, which is a new aspect of my life that I definitely don't want to get rid of because it brings me a lot of joy. So it's not something that I'm willing to eliminate from my life. I still like to hike. I'm working on getting back to a place where I enjoy working out, because right now it does not bring me joy. It actually brings me a lot of anxiety. I'm working on getting back to a place where I love cooking and nutrition, because again, that's something that fell off during the last couple of years. So it's something that I'm working on, fully recognize that. And I now have to figure out, what does travel look like for me? I'm still in the position where I don't have any kids to worry about. I'm fortunate that I make more than I did when I started my career, which I should. I mean, we all should be making more than each and every year. But it's also unfortunate that inflation has not increased at the same rate in which these paychecks are increasing. So I do have to think more strategically about how I spend my money, because I just can't be willy-nilly paying and swiping for things. And like I said, because now that I have my YouTube channel and that is a priority for me, I have to figure out how to manage my budget and my responsibilities of being a beauty creator with fitting the other pieces that are valuable to me in my life. Like, I'm definitely not traveling at the rate in which I would love to travel. And I know you guys are like, girl, you've been on a plane every other week this month. Yes, I have. But that's primarily work travel. I don't think I've had like the vacations that I want to have this year so far. Like, I don't think I've had a true, well, I did go home for a little bit. Yeah. So I've only had one this year. So I definitely want to incorporate more intentional, stays like that. Maybe two. And that's the thing. With work, whenever I travel for work, I always make sure that I build in time to see whatever city or whatever state I'm in. Because if y'all gonna make me get on a plane, I'm gonna see wherever I end up. So I did enjoy traveling for work because I made sure to build in some time to see something. But I would love to do more just personal travel to places, new countries, new cities that I have not been before. So that's kind of the goal for me just generally. So like I said, what's next for me is doing a little bit of figuring out what fills my cup and what does a full cup look like for me. What does peak happiness and healthiness for me look like? And I know part of that is getting back to a healthy weight, and I can do an entirely separate video talking about fitness and weight loss and my struggles there. So I won't really go into that, but I do know that part of that is getting back to a place that is healthy physically, because I know I am not. And if you're gonna say health is not a number on the scale, please miss me with that. I know that there is no number that equates to health. But I'm also going to say with my whole chest that being obese and being overweight is not healthy. It just is what it is. So I know that for my size, I am not at a healthy weight because I can feel it. I can feel it in how slow and sluggish and lack of energy that I have. So that is going to be something that is a priority for me. That is something that I am very excited about, getting back to a place where I feel physically healthy. And then what are the activities that are going to bring me joy? I think that's another key and important part for me, is figuring out what are the things that I want to do that bring me joy. I realize that I have, as of recently, developed this sort of fear of decision making, where I'm afraid to decide to do something without knowing all of the potential variables, which is not something that I feel like I had back in like the 2019 period that I was talking about, because all those trips that I planned were like thought of and booked within a week. Like I was like, maybe I should go here. Like I remember I literally saw just like a cheap flight for London. I messaged my girl and I was like, hey, does this work? And then I bought the ticket. So it was almost like a bit of just like leaping and being spontaneous and just kind of going for it that I had back there. And now I have a little bit of fatigue, not fatigue, but fear in terms of making decisions, because I'm always thinking, what are the factors that I'm not considering? Could this go wrong in any way? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? And the reality is there are very little factors that actually matter, because if I'm doing this for myself, by myself, the only thing that matters is how I feel. Am I going to like be happy and healthy and safe in all of this? So, and I also think I just need to get comfortable with making a decision and knowing that this could go right or this could go wrong. Like I can't plan for everything. I can't predict everything. And all I can do is the best to make sure that I am making a responsible decision with the information that I have at that point in time, and going from there. Because if I don't make a decision whatsoever, I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna ruminate and be on like the what ifs. And the thing is, if I make a decision and it doesn't work out the way I want to, then I make another decision to fix it. Life is all about decisions. So not every decision I make is going to be the right decision the first time. It may not be the right decision, and then I have to make another decision to rectify that decision. And I just have to get back to a place where that I'm okay with that and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm not like catastrophizing. I think that's the right word. Or thinking about everything that could potentially go wrong, and then crippling myself for making a decision and doing the things that bring me joy. So that's the plan. And then one of the other things that I want to start doing in terms of like the traveling space, because you guys know that's going to be huge for me, is I want to go on a cruise. Like I've always wanted to go on a cruise. One, because I love the water. Two, I love the aspect of not having to plan shit. I get on a boat, the boat takes me from one place to the next. I get off, I spend a day or however much time is allotted in that specific area. And there are activities on the boat, there are shows on the boat. It's like an all-exclusive experience on water. So I would love to do that, because that requires a little bit less thought than, say, me deciding, okay, I'm going to this entire other country. Now I have to figure out where I'm going to stay. What is the price of everything? How am I going to get around? Is there public transit? Do I need to worry about like cabs or something like that? Can I walk to certain places? Versus, a cruise experience. So that's going to be something that I am going to try to do as well, because I'm excited by that. Anyways, let me go ahead and put on some eyeliner, and then I'll come back, wrap up this video, and give you guys some of my final thoughts about how to make sure that you are filling your cup. Okay, so this is the final look. I love how this face turned out. For my lips, I went in with my Buxom lipstick. This is in the shade Angel. This is one that I'm trying to empty because this is all I have left. So, that's that. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap things up just with some sort of final thoughts. So, like I said in this video, this is something that, really was like a revelation for me yesterday in terms of realizing that I am not operating with a full cup. And it's been a while since I've not operated with a full cup. And while most of us are functional with like 80%, 50%, hell, even maybe like 25%, we deserve to have a full cup. And I think that for me going forward, it's going to be figuring out what does it take to fill my cup? How does everything fit into one, from my fitness, including, diet, exercise, to travel, to YouTube, to content creation, to spending time with friends and family and all of that. So that's really going to be a core part of my sort of next journey. And I want to encourage you all to think about that for yourself. Like, think about, are you really operating with a full cup? When was the last time you had a full cup? What does a full cup look like for you? And what are going to be the things that you need to do to get there? I think many times we talk about self-care, and self-care is something that I struggle with because oftentimes self-care feels like work. Like you have to plan a massage, or you have to plan to go get your nails done, your hair done, and all of that stuff. And like, sometimes for me, when I think about self-care, like I think about like, oh my God, I have to like make time to do that. And in that case, is it really self-care? Because if you're not enjoying it, are you really caring for yourself? At least the mental part of yourself. Like, yes, you might physically feel better after you get a massage, but does it help your mental? Does it make you feel better when you have to think about and plan these activities? And how do you intentionally build in rest? This is a part of my life that I'm working, in my journey that I'm working on right now, because for me, rest is not something that I'm very good at anymore, especially now that I live in a country where rest is not something that is prioritized and is oftentimes seen as taboo or lazy. But we need to rest, and not just rest from a physical aspect, but rest from a mental aspect as well. Like, when was the last time you sat for like 10 minutes and didn't think about anything? Like, you weren't planning what you were gonna do for the next day, you weren't planning your meals, you weren't thinking about work, you weren't thinking about family, you were just letting your mind rest. Like, do you even feel rest when you go to bed at night, when you go to sleep? I know for me, sometimes I'm tossing and turning because I'm thinking about, okay, tomorrow I have to make sure I do this, I do that, and do that. So one of the things that I've started trying to do is before bed, I try to write down my activities for the next day so that when that day, so I'm not thinking about it before bed, running through my to-do list in my mind. I've taken that to-do list, put it on pen and paper, and now I can just go to sleep. Now, it is something that I'm still working on because I do still continuously have like the list of things going through my head, both from a work perspective and a personal perspective and a YouTube perspective. I'm always thinking about what the next thing is. So for me, I really am trying to figure out how to prioritize rest and how to feel guilt-free about resting, because we shouldn't feel guilty about resting. Like, it seems wild to me, and I know that if you are from Trinidad or any other island and you're watching this, you're like, y'all don't rest? No, we don't. No, we don't, girl. Not in this country. So I am changing. I'm working on changing that for me. And you know what? It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be tough. It's not going to be as easy as it is back home, because again, this is a cultural shift from the norm here. But it is important for me to survive in this country. Like, I don't think that I will be able to last long term if I'm not able to implement some of these things, and if I'm not able to figure out a way to pour back into myself where I'm at 100%, because that's when I'm at my best. That's when I am my best professionally, personally, spiritually, physically, is when I'm at 100%. And sure, 80% can do, but I deserve to be at 100% more times than I'm at 80%. Like, there will be times where I will have to operate at 80% because, like, shit just has to get done sometimes. But more times than not, I would like to be operating at 100% and having a full cup and being, like, happy. And it's gonna take a little bit of time for me to get there. I fully understand that. But this is me sort of saying to you all and to myself that I'm committed to doing that because I deserve that. And that's a hard thing to say and a hard thing to realize, because it can seem selfish to say that out loud, but I deserve a full cup. Like, the hell? I know Jesus don't want me out here struggling. I know Jesus looking down at me like, girl, sis, I'm gonna need you to, like, get back to what it is to be you. Like there's a very, and this isn't like a very popular quote or everything, but my favorite quote and my favorite saying is from The Lion King. It's my favorite movie of all time. And it's when Mufasa says to Simba, remember who you are. And the reason why that sticks with me and it sticks out with me so much is because I've forgotten who I am. And a lot of times I hear that saying in my head and it's like a prompt of like, okay, girl, pause, stop, slow down. And part of that is, you know, coming from a different country and a different culture and having in some ways to assimilate to the American culture. I feel like I always have to remind myself who I am, who Jamila is. And part of Jamila is that Trini girl who is super confident, knows what she wants, has very strong moral beliefs, spiritual beliefs, and is very sure of herself most times. And sometimes I get to the space where I'm like doubting myself, questioning everything because I'm still not 100% comfortable here. And I have to keep reiterating to myself, remember who you are. So that's going to be the mantra, the rallying cry going forward for me is remember who I am. Remember who Jamila is. And remember what Jamila is with a full cup. Remember what it is to operate at 100% and get back there. And whenever I feel like, and be able to put guardrails and systems in place to protect myself when I feel like something is draining my cup and I don't have enough coming back in. Because what that either means is that I need to figure out what is this thing that's taking life from me, and is it in a way in which I'm willing to give? Like, I will give freely for my family. Like, that's without question. So, yeah, I'm going to give there 100%. But what am I doing now to fill my cup back for me? And then on the flip side, is it work that's draining me? And is it a draining that I'm willing to take into account? Because some jobs it just ain't worth it. And if it's really that draining, do I need to think about finding a new position or a new job? So that's it. Those are things that have been rumbling in my mind. But I thank you guys. I thank you guys for sitting here and listening to me. I hope that this was, you know, helpful for you in any way. I would really love to hear your thoughts. So please leave them down in the comments below. And any, you know, self-care, self-preservation tips that you have, I welcome and appreciate all of that. As always, I appreciate you guys so much more than you know. Thank you for the support, and thank you for enjoying this little pivot in my channel, man. I appreciate it. Don't forget to comment, like I said, like, all the engagement helps. And if you haven't already done so and you want to continue to see more content from me, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you'll always get notified every time I upload a new video. As always, I appreciate you guys so much more than you know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!